We're going to be working on wireframes and a bunch of other things. In this section, we're going to learn is going to be huge. You're going to learn how to build or at least start building and using a small asset library. This means we're going to jump into something very quickly. Things about styles when it comes to color and typography. We're going to learn a little bit more about components and maybe how to create some more complex components. That allows you to have various and these different layer styles. So it's going to be super fun. And then once we work on that and finish it, we are going to work on some wireframes for ourselves. That means we're going to build a bunch of pages based off of our user flows, sketches, sitemaps. If you have all that knowledge that you built up over the last several weeks, we've learned so much about user flows, sketching, sitemaps. We can use all that information to really funnel into these wireframes since we were starting to get really good understanding and where certain content is placed. So we're going to learn a bunch more. We're going to build home screens, wish list screens. We're going to into even some product pages. And we'll build some fun pages together. And then we're going to be using a couple of different plugins. So definitely going to be using Lorem Ipsum. If you do not have that plugin, definitely grab it. That will let you come up with some easy content. So definitely grab that plugin. I can't wait to jump in and start building some of these amazing screens. We're going to learn about components and we're going to create a basic button component that we can in so many ways to already know how to create components. I just want to do a quick refresher for some of you that don't. And I'm here just test file. Urge you all to just create a regular design file and follow along. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move around. I'm going to press F. I'm going to create just a frame like this. It doesn't matter right now because we're creating the body of the button. And then I'm going to press RT for the actual text tool up here. I'm going to click inside the frame. We're going to write button label. There we go. We have a button label. I'm going to adjust that to 16 pixels and we can leave it. Yes, 16 is fine. We can just add to 16 or 14. I like to keep my button around the size, so I'm going to give it a medium font weight. You can choose any font you want, and I'm using Enter. It's a really great font, and that's it. Now we're going to go to this frame layer. I'm going to rename it so you can press Control or Command or whatever product you're using, whether it's Mac or Windows. And I'm going to just type in button. There we go. Now, the great thing is I'm going to go over to all the layout. So I'm going to adjust the spacing between the item to 0 because we don't really need that right now. And then I'm going to adjust the actual horizontal spacing to something like maybe 24 pixels. And I'm not going to have any vertical padding right now. We're actually going to make sure that the vertical resizing is fixed and we can adjust our height. To whatever we want. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep it at, let's say, 40 pixels in height. And make sure my content is centered. I'm going to zoom in now. There we go. We have a button. We can go ahead and adjust things like border radius. We can adjust things like fill, so we can give it, say, maybe like this blue fill. Okay, adjust the label within to white. Just press FFF and there we go. We have our button label. Perfect. And that's everything. Now the button label is kind of responsive, so you can see. You can keep it to like hug content like this, or you can make it a fixed width if you wanted to. Spread across, that's our button. And I'm going to do here, I'm going to press the component button here. There you go. Now we have a component. So remember, we are using components. They are only available for professional users across. So I won't be able to access this button for another file unless I took it. And this is the master one with those little squares over here. But unless I took this copied and paste, and so now I can go ahead into my assets file that I can see. That components there, I can see I use it. Even when I update this master, you're going to update that as well. So that's how we're going to create a basic button component. So we just create a basic component, and we all know that there are many types of components out there. They have components with icons, which we are not really going to get into that yet, but we have components with icons like buttons like that. And we have buttons, we have different colors, different sizes. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create something that we call a variant. So let's jump right in. So I'm going to make a copy of this component. I'm going to duplicate it and drag it below. And here I can go ahead, I'm going to actually make this button way larger. This is like my marketing button, so it's going to be like 56 pixels. It's going to have like more width. So I'm going to create another couple of variations. I'm going to have a button over here as well. This one's actually going to be like an inverted button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the fill to 0. I'm going to take the stroke here and give it a stroke and go back to my document color. So it's going to have a stroke on the outside, and then the actual fill of the label is going to be same blue. So now we have a stroke like that. What we're going to do the exact same thing. We can copy this. If you copy this instance that we have that we're using and just shrink it. So now we have 4 buttons. Now, the thing is, you don't want to create like 4 different separate components. It's really hard to manage. So what we're going to do here, we're going to select them all. We're going to actually remove this instance. I'm going to select these all, detach the instance. So if I right click here, where it's right there. For Mac users, it's going to be Command-Shift-B. So this is your shortcut. I'm going to use my shortcut. I'm going to click there. Now I have all of these buttons and they are not components yet. I'm going to go into this little drop down here and create a component set. So what's going to do is create this stroke bounding box that's basically encompasses all these versions. And this is what we call a variant. Our variants. Now, we're going to do here, we're going to look over here into a variant panel. So, if I click this box, I can come here and specify properties. And properties are basically the distinguishes between the types of variants. So you can have a property for like, say, a type of button. So that could be the primary and secondary. Then you can have another property. You can have a lot of them. You can have a property for size. So that we're going to create 2. Already have 1, so we will double click on that, just rename it. We're going to make the first one called size, and we're going to select our larger one. And now holding shift. Here you can see the current variant. And now the size is not the default. I'm going to rename that. We're going to rename that to large. So, okay. Now we have these set large, and we're going to take our smaller one, going to the size. We're going to rename these as regular. And now what we're going to do is we're going to click that button again and click the properties up here, and we're going to create a new component property that will choose that type of property you want, whether it's interface, swap text, so these we will get to it later. And these are called the component properties. A little bit more advanced, we're going to go into the variant. And that's what we want. We want another variant. We're going to name this type. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to say these two are the type primary. And these two, we're going to call them type of secondary. There you go. We have our components now. What does this look like in the assets? And let's delete our original one. And now we still have the same button here, but now when we drag it, you can see on the side right now, instead of having just go back into our assets panel and click new button over again, you have them over here. And now I can specify that it's a large button or the secondary, or swap between these different variants really easily. If you want to make sure everything is neat here, you can even adjust the stroke of the bounding box to whatever color you want. You can actually make it into auto layout frame and stack these nicely on top of one another. If you really want to, that all come down to preferences, and that's how you create variants within Figma.